Welcome to Inspiring Possible. I'm Christy Pennison, former stuck person turned therapist and dream consultant. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, uncertain, or just need a little inspiration? Then I want to help you gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to create possibilities and live a life you love. Because folks, life's too short to be miserable. Welcome back to another episode of Inspiring Possible. I hope you're having a good day. I hope things are going well. But no matter where you are, thank you for joining us today on another episode. And I'm really excited because y'all know we have some incredible guests that come and speak to us. So that way you can get some value, get some thoughts, perspectives of maybe ways just to reconsider some things in your life. But if you feel that you're needing a change in your life, and maybe in your career, or maybe you're feeling a little stuck in your workplace and you just maybe know that there's something else that's out there for you, you're not sure what it is, I hope you just kind of stay tuned because we're going to be talking about change today and change and kind of why it's important and then what are some opportunities for change that you may not be aware of. So I want to welcome our guest today to the show, Lata Hamilton. Welcome, Lata.
Hi, Christy. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just talk a little bit about how you got to where you are now and maybe what was different about your journey than you originally expected it to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I grew up in like a very traditional household. My dad was the, male breadwinner. My mum was a stay-at-home mum. And so for me, like when I was looking at, I was very academic and sort of career oriented. So when I was looking at my career, even though I wanted sort of more creativity and sort of later in high school, I started to do a little bit more on the creative side with like drama and art and music and things like that. What ended up happening was, even though I went into a university degree that was more creative, so I did media and communications, college degree. But then what happened was that when I went into my corporate career, I just found myself seeing that the corporate career that my dad had, he'd been in like one company for life, pretty much like my whole life. He had been in one corporate, like multinational corporate organization. He had sort of like climbed the ladder, the corporate hierarchy, and just gotten like pay rise after pay rise and like bigger team after bigger team and more global role after global role. And so for me, when I went into my corporate career, it was just like, I thought that was what I had to do in order to be successful. So even though my actual bent was probably a little bit more creative and a little bit more more different to sort of what my dad had done, I ended up just like kind of like unconsciously modeling him. Like it wasn't really.
That's the path that was laid out for you, right? I mean, You're just like, this is what people are supposed to do if you want to be successful. Like successful, this is the path, right? Exactly. That's what I'm hearing you say.
First corporate role, I'm going to be here for like 10, 15, 25 years. And that just wasn't me. Like, I'm not a 50-year-old white man. I'm actually quite short. I actually was born in India and I've got like a lot of personality and, like a lot of energy and creativity. And so I'd sort of moved from the space of like media communications and advertising. And I was like, well, I want to make some money. This is my career. I'm not just doing this for fun and a hobby. And so I wanted to make some money. So I went across into corporate, into marketing, which was more of a creative area. But really it was that mindset about what career success looked like. And it was very much, I've got to do my time. I've got to climb the corporate hierarchy and sort of like progress that way. And I'm just not that person. I just got so exactly what you say, Christy, like stuck. I felt really kind of held back. Like I was, the leaders that were in my organization were sort of like that next generation up. And they're like, you've got to do your time and you've got to wait. You can't step into leadership yet, et cetera, et cetera. And then it was like I was not getting pay rises or promotions. And I just felt so like stuck and like underpaid and overlooked and like not given the opportunities that I knew were possible for me, especially because I had done a graduate program, which was essentially like I was doing leadership courses that usually you'd have to be in the organization 5 years before you kind of got offered to do that program. But I was doing that in my first 1 or 2 years because I was on this graduate program. So I'm like, there's this mismatch here about what I thought I needed to do, but then also the reality of like having those opportunities provided to me in my organization. So I ended up changing companies, getting a $20,000 pay rise. But it was really what happened after that that was really interesting, was because a colleague actually said she'd worked in project management before. And she was like, oh, I think you'd be really good in change management. And I was like, what's change management?
What
Like,
the heck is
never,
change management?
exactly. Like organizational change management. I'm like, I'd never heard of it before. It had never been in any like course book that I had looked at high school. It had never, I think I'd kind of like maybe come across the term slightly when I was doing management at university. You know, it was like, what is this thing? And so I kind of started to explore what it was, and I went to a networking event, and the people were just so nice. And when I actually made the move into change management, so I made the move across from marketing and made the career change into change management, it was so funny because it's like I got everything that I was looking for and wanted in this profession that I never even knew existed. And so suddenly I was, earning much more. I actually tripled my salary in the space of 3 years to almost $200,000. I was also leading the change on these really massive projects. And within a few years, I was like leading change that impacted 100,000 people. I was working with some of Australia's biggest companies and having the kind of impact and influence that I thought it would take me 20 years to have and to get to. But I was doing that within like a few years of really starting my corporate career. And it was really fulfilling work. Organizational change, if you don't know what it is, it's moving people from doing things in one way to doing things in a new way. It could be a new process or system or technology, or a new product or a new service, a new team structure or operating model, the move to remote work, the move back to the office, anything which is going to impact people in the workplace, you can support with organizational change. And so you're really helping people at the time that it matters most. You're helping people at a time when everything that they know and believe in and trust in their workplace is being thrown up in the air. They don't know what's going to happen for them down the track. Often there's the real survival instinct triggered because they're like, am I going to have a job in the future? What's this going to mean for my role and my place here? And so it's really fulfilling work as well. I got to get everything that I was looking for. It's really people focused and creative, but then it's also really, you're having a lot of impact and real results and very kind of process driven. And I got to have the impact and influence that I was looking for in just, a fraction of the time that I thought it would take when I was really kind of going into my career.
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a lot of good points here because, I think about even my own journey of, changing throughout my career, although I stayed in the same kind of area, but it has changed so much. And there were so many opportunities that I didn't never realize were going to be available to me and that were possible for me in the career that I'd chosen, using, or even if I'd chosen them differently, using the skill set, the natural abilities that I had, the strengths that I had. And what I'm hearing you say is like sometimes we can get in places that we think this is the path for us. Especially, I think there's a lot of pressure put on our younger people to know exactly what they want to do. When you graduate high school or whatever college it is or university, you should know exactly what you want to do. And sometimes when you get on that path, you discover really quickly that maybe this just doesn't feel exactly like I thought it was going to be, which sounds like what happened to you. But then you have to evaluate, do I stay with what I know or do I venture off into something completely different that I might not even know exists? So I'm just curious, what advice do you give to people that maybe are just feeling like they're like you and maybe even like I have before in my career, stuck, to just evaluate and explore what other opportunities are for them? Because that can be really scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you've put a lot of time and effort into learning a particular profession, you might feel like, well, because I put all that time and potentially invested a lot of money into learning that profession, that's why I've got to stick with it. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Christy, with the transferable skills. The transferable skills are what can take your career in whatever direction that you want to take it. And I love to define things really simply. So for me, transferable skills are the skills that you can use in any role, any company, any industry, any country. they're sort of not related to your exact role or your profession. They're actually those broader, higher level skills that you can actually apply in any different situation or profession. And if you leverage those instead of your expertise, so instead of your specialist expertise that maybe you trained in or maybe you've been working in for a long time, if you leverage your transferable skills, your career can go in multiple pathways and multiple directions. So sometimes it is about really looking at yourself and going, who am I really? Like, what do I really bring to the table? What value do I really bring? What do I love doing? And for me, like I kind of talk about myself as a change leadership and confidence expert. I don't call, like, I am a change manager, absolutely, but I don't necessarily call myself a change manager because for me, it's sort of broader than just change management. I'm really looking at how we change the future of change management. I'm also looking at how does change interact more holistically around leadership. And then no matter if I'm working with clients or on projects, or even when I was a contractor in change management, or if I'm working with students and my own sort of like clients in sort of my business and helping them, like everything starts from that place of confidence. So sometimes it's about really reflecting on who you are and what value you bring to the table, and then just having the conversations. Like I knew at that time that I was on a fixed term contract, so I knew it was coming to an end. So I was easily able to have conversations with people about, like where am I going to go next? What should I do next? And that's why sort of advice and people who had maybe a bit more experience and had that exposure to all the different types of roles and careers out there. Like I think that when you go to high school and college or university, like the base level roles, you're like, oh yeah, I can be a marketing manager or I can be a finance
teacher, nurse,
nurse, financial director. Do you know what I mean? Like I can be these key things, right? Or like lawyer, doctor. But it's when you get behind the scenes and you actually get into an industry, that's where you see all the support roles behind that, or you see all the project roles that sit behind that, or you see, like, behind a marketing team, there's a category team and a brand team and a promotions team, like all these other things that you went and thought, oh, I'm just going to go into marketing. There's so many even pathways within each profession behind it. And sometimes you need to be able to either get into an organization or get into an industry to see what those opportunities are and those different pathways are, or talk to people who know. So you might just want to talk a little bit more to people about it and make those connections and those relationships and have those conversations, because I think that's where the richness, especially when people, I guess it's almost a little bit like, I never thought of this before, but it's almost a little bit like getting set up on like a blind date, like that somebody's looking at you and going, I can see that this is what you're great at and this is what your energy is like and this is what your qualities are. And then they're going, I think this is a great profession for you. Like, let people do that for you and give things a go. Like, there is nothing fast, hard in stone that, like, once you've gone into a career, that's the only thing you'll ever do. We're moving much more to like portfolio careers. It's not the way that it used to be. Like, the baby boomers are retiring slowly, but they're getting there. The baby boomers are retiring and there is this more flexible, fluid way of working, and work and workplaces are changing so much that we have to be flexible in the way that we approach our careers. We can't expect anymore to stay in one job or one career or one industry for life, because our industries and our workplaces are changing so much. So if you can start to take that more like agile and flexible mindset and approach to your career, there's so many opportunities out there for you.
Yeah, well, and I love the idea of opportunities, because I can think about, again, I just use myself as a point of reference because that's my experience and that's my story, right? And I just can remember like it was yesterday that when I thought about opportunities and even opportunities for myself, they didn't start out like I knew that there was this whole world of opportunities. And I'm still learning, even with my transferable skills, like you're talking about, like, wow, this could be an opportunity over here. I never thought that that was an opportunity for me, or this could be an opportunity over here. I didn't know that was an opportunity for me. And I love what you said, is part of it is just exploring or getting into conversations with people that may have insights into different type of opportunities that you would have never known existed. And it's crazy whenever we were talking about traveling earlier before we pushed the record button. But I think about sometimes when I travel and I look at all the different roles that help me even get to, like, who are all the people that have to help me get on an airplane to get to this place, from the people that are, hospitality industry to bringing the food to, I mean, it is mind blowing how many different ways you can do this thing called life, and how many different types of careers or jobs or roles that you can have in completely different industries that you may have never thought of you being a part of. And so, one of the things you said, though, I want to circle back to is that one of the things that's needed to be able to take these transferable skills and then be able to say, like, I want to explore these opportunities, but I want to be able to go with confidence to, like, let's say, apply for this job or go for this role. And it may not be an industry that I've been in for years, but how do I utilize, market those transferable skills with confidence? What would you give? Because some people are like, Christy, that sounds really good and all, but that is scary to me. I'm not necessarily confident in myself. I don't even know if I could be confident to, share my rock star skills with somebody else. So, how do you help people establish that confidence so they can pursue some of these opportunities that they might be interested in?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think for women especially, confidence is sometimes seen as a bit of a dirty word. Like I read an article on LinkedIn the other day and it was like, confidence is like a dirty word. I'm like, it's not a dirty word. I think there's a really big difference between confidence and cockiness. I think there's a really big difference between sort of confidence and arrogance. Like don't confuse the two. Like it's okay to be confident. And I think confidence really stems from you knowing at a deep level internally, like who you are, what you want, what value you bring to the table, and what you're worth. And especially in your career, like the what you're worth, it's like, there's no point being in this incredible job and profession, but you don't have enough money to pay the bills, or you don't feel abundant in that, because then that lack starts to seep through your career and into the rest of your life. And like I like to say, like, we're not going to work for fun. Like we do want to have fun at work, but it's not a hobby. It's not volunteering. You want to get remunerated and compensated appropriately for your skills, and to be able to, use your career as a launch pad to the rest of your life. And it is such a great channel to earn more and be able to build that wealth and that abundance for yourself, to live the kind of life and lifestyle that you want, using it as the launch pad to that. So money doesn't buy you happiness, but it absolutely gives you more choices to sort of choose the life and lifestyle that you want. So when you get clear on those four things, like who you are, what you want. So what I help people with a lot, especially my students, is what do you actually want? What would really light you up from a career perspective in terms of the types of work that you'd be doing, the types of people that you would work with, the type of pay that you might have, how would your week look? Like, would you actually be working 9 to 5, 5 days a week, you know what I mean? Or maybe you actually, like, what would really work for you is sort of working a bit more part-time. Or in my case, for example, instead it was more, I like to take off big chunks of the year, big chunks. So like I like being in change management because it is project work. When you finish a contract, you are earning so much in contract work often that you can then take off like a big chunk of the year. And I go overseas. Like I love to travel. So I'll go overseas and spend like a good couple of months overseas, really embedding myself in a local area. Like in 2018, I think 2019. No, yeah, 2019, I went to France and I spent 2 months in Provence and touring around sort of like the south of Europe. And then just last year, I spent 2 months in Italy and then touring around sort of more that side of Europe too. So like actually thinking about, well, what could your week look like, your month, your year? And then what's the kind of pay that you're looking for? And then what are the kinds of, projects or work or clients or customers that you actually really want to work with that really light you up, and getting really clear on that. So knowing who you are, which is like those transferable skills and the qualities that you bring, what you want, which is really that kind of that goal setting, vision setting around your career, the value that you bring. So like what is your unique things that you bring to the table that other people don't. So say, for example, in change management, for me, it is actually really my energy, my approach. And I bring in a lot of neuro-linguistic programming, so NLP for short, neuro-linguistic programming, and coaching tools and techniques. And I've sort of embedded that into change management. And that's what's unique about the way that I approach change and the way that I teach change management as well. And then what you're worth, like if you can get really clear on the value that you bring, and then like not looking at, so I think a lot of people go, oh, well, what did I earn in my previous role? It's like, it's not about your previous role. It's actually about the accumulation of your entire experience. So you're not being paid in your next role or step up or promotion or whatever. You're not being paid for where you currently stand right here today. Instead, you've really got to look at that whole accumulation of your career experience and your training and any education or any courses and things like that, the successes and the wins that you've had, and go, the accumulation of that is what I'm worth. And that's a really different conversation, because when you go, wow, yeah, I've got, like 5, 10, maybe even 15 years worth of experience across these different areas and arenas, and I've gotten great results over this whole period of time, not over the last year, over this whole period of time, you kind of are grounding yourself in the accumulation of that and the value and the worth of the accumulation of that. And then you go and have the conversation about your pay, your salary, your benefits.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like one thing that you're, I guess, encouraging people to do that I'm hearing is to really take some time to think about these things. Because so many times we're just on autopilot running through, this is the norm, this is what I'm used to, but really taking the time to figure out, okay, yeah, who am I? What are the things that light me up? What are the things that are engaging to me? What are the things that are interesting to me? What are the things that I enjoy that actually bring me energy? And like you said, it's work. So, hopefully it could be fun, and hopefully we can have very rewarding careers, which is what we're trying to do, right? But at the end of the day, what are the things that I can bring to the table, and who am I, and what is going to be, what do I want my life to look like? So I really love how you asked that question, because I don't think we always start with that question in mind, right? We kind of get into something and then we mold ourselves and our life to a job or a position or career. At least I have. And even for me, it's crazy. It's so hard for me to reshape my thinking around like this 9 to 5 thing that was, drilled into my head. Even some days I have to remind myself, like, Christy, no, you did a little work on Saturday. You don't have to work. You don't have to get up and do this thing right now, right? Like, it's really hard to get past such programming that you
Yeah.
don't even realize you have throughout a long period of time, which I'm sure that is one of the things, even as a change management, person, that you have to help people figure out, like, just because it's been done this way forever does not mean that this is the best way to do this anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But like, just
Absolutely.
getting the idea of like, would
Mhm.
I love to be maybe not working 2 months out of the year and being able
Mm.
to go somewhere? Or maybe according to my life might be different. Maybe I do want to work throughout the year, but I really want to have longer weekends, or
Mm.
whatever it is. What do I want my life to actually look like? And then trying to think of a career that kind of fits that with who you are. What do you want your life to look like? What is the things that you bring to the table, the value you bring, the uniqueness of who you are and how you operate? And then how do you also then say, based off of all this experience I have, advocate for my worth? And but taking that all takes time, folks, is what I'm trying to emphasize here from what Lata's telling us, is
It
that
can
just to
also be quite
reflect.
fast, Misty. It can also be quite fast. Like, I made the move
Yeah.
to change management within a couple of months of making
Hmm.
a decision. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to necessarily take time. It's more about, where are you at your sort of
Yeah.
point in your life, and getting clear about what it is that you want. And I think you raised a really good thing, as like a really good point as well, about that programming. Like Jacqueline Atkins, who's one of the business coaches that I use, like, she talks about this patriarchal model of business, and she's talking about it a bit more sort of from like the entrepreneurial lens, but it absolutely applies to like our corporate world and most of our workplaces. Is this really patriarchal model. It's been designed and set up for men. It was designed in the industrial era, where jobs and work was so different, and it really was about having that productivity from 9 to 5, 5 days a week, but somebody was at home taking care of the home. And now often it's both people in a in a household or working, there is that need and that desire for more flexibility and flow and freedom, which I think as women, like, is something that so many women that I talk to, even myself included, crave. We don't want to be penned in by the structures of how we work that have been passed down to us generation after generation. We want to be able to start creating new ways of working and new paths of doing things that are more flexible and fluid, that serve our health and our hormones, that serve our families and our communities, that serve our own livelihood and our, like, what we want from the world. And so it is about, when you stop and take the time to think about what do you really want, it's like the opportunity that fits what you want comes to you. Like it comes your way rather than you necessarily having to go out and chase it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, again, a really different thing, because it's like when you go and ask, you're also becoming an example to others. And that's what I try to be. And I think you as well do this as well really well. You try to be that inspiration. Like, there is an alternative way of living. There is an alternative way of working, because if I can do it, that means that somebody else can do it. And then they become an example to other people in their lives and other women in their lives to do things differently. And it's going to take all of us really tapping into what authentically we want and how we want to live our life. Like, we only get one chance at this. So it's like, how do we want to live our life? And when a big group of us and that critical mass go, this is the way that we want to structure work and life together on our terms rather than on other people's terms, that's where we get real transformation in the future of work, and the entire world can change how they do it. Because, you get a lot of these older generations who are like, I would have loved to have had that flexibility when I was younger. It wasn't available to me at the time.
Mm-hmm. And that is one good thing to highlight, that I think, we think about change over time, right? We are slowly starting to see some of these things be challenged, or these old ways of doing things be really just kind of dismantles to say, like, okay, yeah, that's the way things were done before. It doesn't mean that that's the way things should be done now. But I just really loved what you said, and I wrote it down, but it's like knowing what authentically you want. And it doesn't have to be what others have said that you should be doing, or what maybe, like you said, even our parents have modeled to us, or people around us have modeled as this is the path. That there really is now, I mean, and really, we're in a day and a time where there's opportunities that, like you said, may not have been available years ago, but now there is ways to redefine how you want things to go, and how you want your career to go. Now, does it require hard work and effort and all that kind of stuff? Yes. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you didn't just get here by, like, taking a nap and then waking up and being like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Right.
How fun would that be? That would be amazing.
But I think what we're getting at, or at least what I'm hearing you say, is that, there is ways to go for a different way of viewing work and viewing life. Since you work with so many different either individuals, but also through some of the companies that you help, initiate change and have behavior change and all that fun stuff, what would you say is the biggest thing that keeps people from wanting to change?
It is really that stuckness around how things are currently done, and that fear of loss, the fear of losing what you currently have. Like, I think if you know that something is better potentially out there. So this applies for both individuals and for organizations and workplaces. Something better is out there, but you're too worried or too scared to rock the boat or tip over the barrel of apples now in case it doesn't work out. Like, there isn't that certainty that success will be yours. And, in neurolinguistic programming, we say there is no failure, only feedback. There is no failure, only feedback. And I always love to think about that, because I'm like, if you go and try and do something and it doesn't work out, or maybe you, like, the profession that you thought you really were going to enjoy or move into, or a role or a leader, like, sometimes you have to know, is it the wrong profession or is it the wrong leader? Maybe you just ended up with a bad boss kind of thing. And so it's like, you always have the opportunity to just go, great, I'm going to reflect on what's happened and what that is. And then I'm going to, pivot and sort of do something a little bit differently, or tweak one thing. And that goes for organizations too. Like a lot of organizations, sort of like what we were talking about, they have been really successful over the last 20, 30 years. They grew at a time when, I work with a lot of medium-sized consulting clients. And before that, I'd work with like sort of major corporates that sort of have to change because they are big market players in industry. So they sort of have to change, but they are such big ships that like
trying to even correct it over just a little bit. It's hard.
It's such a hard thing, but you can make tweaks along the way, but it's really hard to change the whole ship at once. But with these medium-sized sort of consulting clients, often they have grown to a level of success in a really stable period through like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s and into today. Well, then the last sort of 5 or 10 years and then moving forward into what the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years looks like is completely different. And the way of working and operating and the level of competition coming into the market is going to be completely different, and they have to change. But because what they've been doing so far has been, in inverted commas, working, even if people are burnt out and miserable and like not feeling that growth and that variety or that excitement or that challenge, and potentially also maybe some of your employees might even be going like, we can see that competitors are going to start moving into this space and we're not going to be ready for that. We're not going to be ready to be able to stand on our own 2 feet in the future. So it is that kind of that fear of loss and that uncertainty around what the future will look like. And so sometimes it is about leveraging the confidence of somebody else, like a coach or a mentor. Or if you're a sort of an organization, it might be about bringing in a consultant to help showcase what that could look like and build that confidence for you that no matter what happens, you'll be able to adapt and grow and learn and change, and that doesn't stop. Right? Like life doesn't stop. Continuous improvement is never ending, whether that's in your personal life or in your professional life or in your workplace change. It's like it doesn't end just because you hit a particular date. You kind of just keep going, and it's about kind of growing that mindset. And I think, going back to what we were talking about earlier, for if you do want to make a change in your career and you are scared about it, it's like, go and make a change that can really set you up in multiple pathways. And that's, I think, why I love change management so much, is that it is a highly paid female-dominated career. And there is not many careers that are like that, which are both really highly paid and female-dominated. Like traditionally, female-dominated careers are the lowest paid careers in our world and our workplaces. So what making the career change into change management can be to build your confidence in this area to then be able to go, great, and then beyond change management, what would I like to do? It creates that foundation for you to have that choice. So sometimes it might not necessarily be about making that final decision about where you want to go, but it could be about taking that next step, which just simply opens up choice for you and gives you that new foundation to kind of grow from. And so how you do that, is up to you. For me, I've just found, because you can move into change management from so many areas. I moved from marketing. You can move from learning and development, from communications, operations, project management, just senior leadership. Like from any place you can move into change management. You don't there's not one career path into change. And then beyond change, there's not one career path either. It's almost like this melting pot, and then you can kind of go in all these different ways. So that could also be a great option, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like you said, it's just taking the next step and also just growing the mindset that there is other ways of doing things. And that just takes some time to sometimes cultivate, but it can happen very quickly if you just lean into saying, okay, what is the next step for me? And not being resistant to the fact that, there may not be another step. There is. It's just like, what do you want to expand into? So I do have a question, Lata, that I like to ask my guests towards the end. But if there was a piece of advice, knowing what you know now about your path and your journey, if you were to go back to younger you and give yourself just one piece of word, with a word of encouragement and a piece of advice, is there something specifically you would tell yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think for me, in my younger years, I was probably less confident in my leadership and skills. I was listening to the feedback of people around me who were not me, who were not my generation, especially like the leaders that I was surrounded by in my early career, like not all the leaders, but some of the leaders, like they were a completely different generation. And so like the values that they hold and the things that they want and the things that they're looking for and the career path that they've had shape the advice or the limitations sometimes and the barriers that they put on to me. And that might have happened to you in your career.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like take that with a grain of salt. Like they are not the be all and end all. And for me, changing jobs frequently, changing companies regularly, and changing careers, being really strategic about my career changes, I should say, has been what's really transformed. Like it has completely transformed my career and my leadership and my life by just moving around, like recalibrating against the open market instead of trying to convince internal leaders to give me an opportunity or to give me a pay rise or to give me a promotion. It's like just go to the open market, recalibrate against the open market. And then that's how I've gotten pay rise after pay rise, promotion after promotion, and really progressed in my career much faster than I ever thought possible. So that's what I would say to myself. Like at the start of my career, I didn't know that. I didn't know that people were giving advice or telling me about what my career path would look like based on the limitations of their own experience and their own belief systems and their own programming. And so surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded, people who are passionate, people who want to make a difference in the world, people who want to also create an incredible life for themselves and believe in themselves and cheer each other on and celebrate each other. Like having a community like that or having people in your life that are like that is so important because that means that you can drown out the naysayers or the people who want to hold you back and it's not their fault. Like they're not doing it purposely. It's more that like they can see that if you kind of start coming up behind them, like what's going to be left for them. So millennials, I think, and even to a certain extent, Gen Z, like we just really need to be very mindful about we are a different generation. We have the power now. We're starting to move into leadership roles. We have the power now to be different types of leaders and to share and showcase a new way of doing things. And like that's the opportunity that we have because we're the biggest cohort in the workplace now is millennials. So it's our opportunity. If we don't like the way that things are being done, we have the opportunity to change that. We don't have to follow what our previous generations have done.
Yeah, I love that. And I love like that you said getting people in your corner that have the similar mindset because I know that it can be a game changer to drown out the noise and the advice. And not that other people aren't well meaning, it's just their limitations are sometimes projected onto us and we don't want to take that on when there's a lot of opportunities for growth that they might not be able to see. And that's okay. So well, Lata, if people want to connect with you and they want to find out more about the work that you do, how can they find you?
Yeah, so absolutely come and follow me on LinkedIn. You can find me under Lata Hamilton. Lata's just with Lata, really easy. And if you do want to sort of explore like exactly what we were talking about, explore like what you're worth and what you really can bring to the table, I do have a free coaching action guide. So it's underpaid and overlooked coaching action guide, which has my 5-step career change formula to change careers with confidence and earn your worth. So you can grab that from latahamilton.com/worth it because you are worth it.
Oh man, I love that. Well, we're going to definitely link that up in the show notes so that y'all can grab that. And if you're just if you were listening to our conversation and you're like, you know what, maybe there is things that I just have never explored for myself or opportunities, definitely check that out because I do think taking the time to just do these reflective exercises of who are you, what do you want, what's the value that you bring, and then what is the worth that you bring to the table, I think can really be game changers in your next opportunity. So definitely check that out. Lata, I want to appreciate you for coming on the podcast today and also for taking the steps yourself to change your career path, right? And then you didn't just stop there. You didn't just be like, okay, well, I'm going to find the path that works for me. You then said, okay, like how can I also help other people? And how can I advocate for change, not only in the role that I do, but that other people can take that change with confidence into the next opportunity that's there for them. So I appreciate you coming on today and sharing a little bit about that. Yeah, absolutely. So, and if you're listening, y'all know that I like to give you one or two takeaways, and I have a lot of takeaways from this episode. I was writing a lot of notes down over here, but I want to challenge you today to really think about what is it that you authentically want. To really just take some time, maybe take it on your drive or after you cut off this episode after today. Like, just take some time to think about what you authentically want. And remember that there's no failure, there's only feedback, and you're worth it. So, have a great rest of your day. That's all for today on Inspiring Possible. If you found a little inspiration today, please go on over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen to leave us a comment and rate us. Also, make sure and link up with me at inspiringpossible.com to get the free Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. And don't forget to follow us on social media and share this with anyone who needs to be inspired. Remember, if you can believe it, it's possible.